The alarms on Threshold Station were already screaming before I finished my insult. My name is Vex Shawkar, and I was standing on the observation deck with a glass of marrow wine in my hand when I laughed at the human ships outside the window. I want you to remember that laugh, because by the end of this story, it will mean something very different to you than it did to me in that moment. We had gathered 9 species at Threshold Station to sign the Ganymede Accords, a treaty that would open the trade lanes between the old powers and the newer ones. Humanity was joining us for the first time. Their shuttle had just docked, escorted by 2 of their warships, and every delegate on that deck was staring at those ships, the way you stare at a joke that tells itself. The human vessels were thick, uneven, and covered in what looked like old repairs instead of clean new plating. Our sensors read heavy metal armor, physical guns, and no shield technology worth mentioning. In a room full of species who could bend light and fold space, humanity had arrived with what looked like a can wrapped around a hammer. Grand Marshal Osuvain, a towering officer of the Threk Dominion, did not bother to hide his amusement. He had 6 arms and used most of them to gesture at the window. "You fly to a meeting of gods," he said, "and you bring iron and fire. Does your species not understand what waits for you here if talks go wrong?" Their ambassador, a small human woman named Elena Voss, did not look angry. She only smiled and set down her drink, which was plain water, while the rest of us swam in stronger things. "Marshal," she said, "may I ask you something first? In 400 years of spaceflight, how many wars has my species started against another species in this room?" Osuvain paused, because he did not like being questioned in front of the others. "None," he admitted. "That is correct," Elena said, "not because we never had the chance. 3 of the powers standing in this hall have quietly tested our borders in the last 60 years. We noticed every single time. We chose peace, every single time. Our ships are not here to threaten you. They are here because we spent centuries with nothing to protect ourselves, and we promised ourselves we would never be that helpless again." It was a fine speech. I admit, I clapped politely along with the others, still thinking it was nothing more than pride, dressed up in nice words. Then the deck lights flickered, and the alarms began, and pride stopped mattering to anyone in that room. The station's main reactor core, ancient and barely maintained, because nobody expected a station built by such advanced engineers to ever fail, had developed a fracture. Within seconds, the automated systems confirmed what every engineer on that deck already feared. Containment was failing, and it was failing fast. 3,000 people were aboard that station, and the most advanced science in the galaxy could not stop what was coming. Here is the part that still keeps me awake at night when I remember it. The technology that every species in that hall depended on. The elegant field systems that bent space and held matter together with invisible strength needed a steady flow of power to work. That power now had to pass through the very systems that were breaking apart. 9 species of brilliant engineers ran the numbers in seconds and reached the same terrible answer. There was no way to reroute the containment field in time. The reactor breach would tear through the last barrier within minutes, and nothing in our advanced arsenal of tools could reach it fast enough to matter. I watched Elena Voss turn calmly toward the window, toward those 2 humble-looking human ships, and speak 4 quiet words to the officer standing beside her. "Do what you trained for." That officer was Daniel Cross, a broad-shouldered man who I had assumed all evening was nothing more than a bodyguard standing near the ambassador for show. I was wrong about him, the same way I had been wrong about everything else that night. The human ships did not fire a single weapon. Instead, their hulls opened along seams our scanners had never even registered, and outpoured something none of us expected. Small transport pods, engineers in heavy suits, portable tools built for one purpose only, to physically reach a breaking point and hold it together with raw strength and stubborn will. Within less than 2 minutes, human engineers were outside the station in open space, working with their hands on a wound in the reactor wall that our advanced science could not touch. They welded plates across the fracture. They braced supports with mechanical clamps. They used heat and pressure and pure physical effort, tools so simple that half the delegates on that deck did not even recognize what they were looking at. I remember Tormek, the Urashti ambassador who had laughed loudest earlier, standing frozen at the window with his mouth open. "This should not work," he whispered. "Our models say this should not work." But it was working. Every second, the humans held that plating in place, bought the station's automated systems, time to slowly reroute what little power remained through backup channels. It was not clean. It was not elegant. It was two very different kinds of engineering, meeting in the same crisis. One built on invisible perfect fields, and one built on hands, sweat, and refusal to give up. Amara Bell, one of the youngest engineers on that human crew, worked at the center of it all. Her voice came through the station comm system, steady and calm, even though every reading on our sensors showed the temperature around her rising into dangerous territory. "Hold position," she said to her team. "We are not losing this station tonight." I have never in my long life heard someone sound so certain while standing so close to disaster. 4 minutes before our best predictions said the breach would become unstoppable, the containment field stabilized, the reactor cooled. The lights across Threshold Station steadied, and for a long moment, nobody in that observation deck spoke a single word. It was Grand Marshal Osuvain, still shaken, who finally broke the silence. He turned to Elena Voss with all 6 of his hands trembling, and for the first time that night, his voice held no mockery at all. "Your technology is generations behind ours," he said. "How did your people just save this station when ours could not?" Elena answered gently, the way someone speaks when they are not trying to win an argument, only trying to help someone understand. "Our technology is not behind," she said. "It is different. Your ships trust that the universe will let your elegant solutions work every single time. Our ships were built by people who learned the hard way that sometimes elegant solutions fail, and when they do, something simple and stubborn has to be ready to step in and save everyone anyway. We did not bring those ships here to threaten anyone tonight. We brought them because they are the only kind of ship we have ever fully trusted. The kind built by people who never forgot what it feels like to have nothing standing between you and disaster except your own 2 hands." I looked back out the window at those 2 boxy human warships, the ones I had mocked less than an hour earlier, and I understood for the first time that I had been laughing at the wrong thing. We had judged humanity by the shine of their hulls and the elegance of their weapons, and found them lacking. We never once considered that their true strength was not in what their ships could destroy, but in what their people could endure and rebuild with nothing but determination and their own 2 hands. That was never a weakness hiding behind old-fashioned armor. It was the deepest kind of strength, the kind that does not need to be beautiful to be unbreakable. The Ganymede Accords were signed 3 days later, with humanity's seat at the table, never once questioned again. Word of what happened aboard Threshold Station spread through every corner of concordant space within weeks, carried by delegates who had watched it happen with their own eyes. I still attend diplomatic gatherings across the galaxy, and I still see other species glance at human ships with old habits of doubt in their eyes. But now, I speak up before the mockery can start. I tell them what I saw that night, how the crudest-looking ships in the entire fleet held together a dying station with nothing but courage and bare hands, while the finest engineering in the galaxy stood helpless beside them. I tell them that humanity's true weapon was never hidden in their weapons at all. It was hidden in their refusal to ever again be a people who could not save themselves, and in choosing, every single time, to stand and help rather than walk away. And every time I finish telling that story, the room grows quiet, the same way it did on that observation deck, the night I learned exactly how wrong I had been,